Hello, welcome everyone. Come on in. Welcome to another great episode of Royal Black and Elite. I'm Lady T, and I am a social historian, lecturer, and an etiquette consultant, and a person who just loves Black history. History, period. I think the more we know about our yesterday, the more we can chart our tomorrow. And so I thank everyone for joining me. As always, I thank you for liking and sharing and subscribing. And today, I am so excited to bring you an unsung hero in the African American community. Now, a lot of people have not heard of this woman, but if you are fashion, modeling, or in etiquette, you have to know this lady. And her name is Madam Ophelia DeVore-Mitchell. Madam Mitchell was the first Black woman to own a modeling agency, and she is a legend in the field of etiquette. She was born August 12th, 1921, in Edgefield, South Carolina. Now, you know, back in those days, they had a lot of children, so she was one of 10 children. And she was born to mixed race parents, John Walter DeVore and Mary Emma Struthers. Her father was a prolific businessman. He owned a traveling contracting company, and her mother, she was an etiquette instructor and musician. Now you can only imagine 10 children and your husband away a lot. The mother was very probably grateful when at 11 she went to live with her great aunt in New York. Her name was Stella Carter, and it was 1933. And Stella was a woman about town, a very high class woman, and she taught Ophelia so much. And so Ophelia attended the prestigious Hunter College High School in Manhattan. So she was right in the thick of things where wealth was concerned and where the it crowd was. Now, while in high school, her friends urged her to model because she was a beautiful girl, and so she did. And so she began to model in Europe because during that time, African Americans weren't still accepted in the fashion industry as much. So she began to model in Europe. She was a fair-skinned woman, and so it made it easier for her to get jobs, but she didn't like that. She wanted everyone to be able to see the beauty of Black skin and its many different shades. And so she really, as she began to be more educated, she really expanded her education so she could learn about culture and learn different languages. And so she went on to receive her bachelor's degree in mathematics with a minor in languages. Specifically, Madame DeVore could speak French, Latin, and German, and she graduated from New York University. Now, in 1941, DeVore married firefighter Harold Carter, but she divorced him. They had 5 children together. Now, while she was married to Harold before they were divorced, she did continue her studies, and she studied fashion, public relations, and marketing. Later on, she married Vernon Mitchell, and he passed away in 1972. After graduating from college and excelling in the model and fashion industry, Madame DeVore continued to feel the need to address the lack of opportunities in the fashion industry for Black women. So she wanted to open a school. To prepare, she attended Vogue School of Modeling in New York. And when she finished, she was featured in Ebony magazine. That was the leading Black magazine of the time. After her hard work, in 1946, Madame DeVore opened her first modeling agency in New York, and it was called the Grace Del Marco Agency. There, she would prepare models of color for runway and for the pages of the day's top magazines. Now, 2 years after opening her first agency, she opened another called the Ophelia DeVore School of Development and Modeling. This is where she trained 20,000 students on everything from etiquette to speech and ballet. Some of the titles of her classes included Wardrobe 1, 2, and 3, Figure Control with fencing and ballet, Social Graces, and most notable about her schools were her clients, who she polished for the camera. Some of her students included Cicely Tyson, Richard Roundtree, Diane Carroll, and Helen Williams, who was the first major black model to hit the runway and was mainstream. Along with her models, Madame DeVore hosted fashion shows in churches, on college campuses, and in hotels to spotlight her models. And in addition to fashion shows, DeVore and her students made history in 1950 by hosting ABC's Spotlight on Harlem. It was the first African American show produced for and by blacks. So she was really on the cutting edge of beauty, of fashion, of entertainment. Madame DeVore and her students achieved one of their highest honors in 1959 and in 1960 when they became the first Americans of any race to win a title at the Cannes Film Festival. Her career continued to expand as she created 2 ethnic beauty contests, developed cosmetic lines, and wrote a fashion column for the Pittsburgh Courier newspaper. And if she had any more time, she was also the publisher and the CEO of the Columbus Times newspaper in Columbus, Georgia. It was the black newspaper that she ran from the 1970s until 2009, and this was the one that her husband had started. In 2006, Madame DeVore closed the doors of both her modeling agencies. She was the recipient of over 200 awards. She used her status to open up doors and opportunities for blacks in the modeling industry. Most honorably, DeVore was appointed by President Ronald Reagan to the President's Advisory Committee on the Arts. From training politicians to entertainers, Madame Ophelia DeVore was a class act and a woman who we should all know. Because if you love Cicely Tyson or Richard Roundtree or any of those wonderful great stars, we can account their class and elegance to Madame DeVore. She passed away on February 28, 2014, at the tender age of 92 in Manhattan. Her death was announced on March the 6th on the floor of the House of Representatives by Sanford D. Bishop Jr. He was a Democrat from Georgia. Madame DeVore's work, it spanned 6 decades. Emory University in Atlanta, they've acquired the collection of Madame DeVore's work, including her professional papers, business plans, and scrapbook, if you want to see some of the memorabilia she's left behind. What an icon and a very interesting life. And she aged really beautifully. I really hope you enjoyed today's episode about this fashion icon, a woman many people did not even know. And she's featured in our book, Royal Black and Elite. So be sure to go over to Amazon and pick up your copy for your Black History Library. I'm so excited about you always joining. Thank you so much for your likes, for your subscribes, for your share. The channel, you all. Never in my wildest dream did I think I could find so many people who love what I love, which is history, which is people's lives and how interesting their lives can be. Which brings me to something that I wanted to announce on the channel. I am getting ready to start reading a series that I wrote, and it's called Hunter's Point. It's set in the 1800s, and it's about the wealthy blacks of Hunter's Point. It's fictional, but it's an audiobook, and I think it's going to be great as you get ready to go to sleep, if you want to listen to a great story and follow the episodes. Each week, I'll come, and the episodes are going to be about 10 to 15 minutes, and you're going to follow the life of the Smithfields and the Brentworth as they vie for power in Hunter's Point. So I can't wait to introduce you to just another something that was in my heart and a way to, again, bring Black history alive. Thank you for joining me. I'll see you on another great episode of Royal Black and Elite.